Our first presenter is Daria Yau of Archaeology, speaking on the topic of evidence of preferential use of fish for ritual at Keatley Creek.
Thank you. Am I laser pointer? There we go. Hi, we're already on this slide. All right. So I've been working for the site of Keatley Creek for about 1.5 years now, and this presentation is very similar to the one I gave last year, but with statistical evidence. So let's carry on. For some site background, Keatley Creek is located near Lillooet, BC, and it was the site of a complex hunter-gatherer village. The village looks like this now, and each of those holes in the ground used to be a pit house. These pit houses ranged in size from 5 meters to 22 meters in diameter, and the two house pits I'm looking at are the extremes. So house pit 9 is 5 meters in diameter, and it's believed to be a ritual house pit, and house pit 7 is 22 meters in diameter and believed to be a residential home. Keatley Creek was occupied between 4,500 and 200 BP. There is a wide range here. Depending on the researcher and the paper you look at and the time period you're looking at, it varies quite a bit. At its peak, Keatley Creek is believed to have had 1,200 inhabitants living in over 100 pit houses. So for Keatley, subsistence is a really big question. And if you look here, they primarily subsist off salmon, sockeye, chinook, and coho. We also had plant material to supplement their diet, and deer as well. We can see fish make up over 60% of the diet, with the other 40% being comprised of deer and plant material. So my research question is, can we tell if the use of a house pit based on what parts of the fish are present? The idea here is that when a salmon is butchered by the people who lived here at this time, they would leave the vertebral columns intact along the top of the fish fillets and remove the ribs and fins. So my hypothesis here is that, or my null hypothesis is that there is no variation between a ritual house pit and a residential house pit, which would mean they're not using salmon for a specific purpose in the ritual house pit. And my alternative hypothesis is that there is a significant variation and there is a specific use for salmon in these ritual house pits. So I conducted a chi-squared analysis, and this analysis looks at how far from the expected value my bones lie. So in the highlighted region here, we have the total number of vertebra found. And you can see that house pit 7 has significantly more than house pit 9, which is what we would expect with the way the fish fillets are prepared. House pit 7 does not have as many fin segments as we would expect if they were taking the entire salmon to the home. In contrast, 9 is the exact opposite for this. The other analysis at the bottom here is for articulated sections. You can see here, again, house pit 7 has significantly more articulated segments of vertebra than house pit 9, and house pit 9 has far more articulated fin segments than those found at house pit 7. And then I have just a frequency diagram to show graphically this relationship. Ribs for both are roughly the same, but you can see a big contrast in the dark blue and the purple, representing the fins and ribs. So the implications of this study. What I aimed to look at was to see if, and the hypothesis that Dr. Brian Hayden has proposed, is that they are taking the less valuable portions of the fish and using them to make stock for soups, to use in and as part or after ritual practices in house pit 9. He's also suggested that house pit 9 could be the area in which a secret society conducted their practices. This hypothesis is based on the fact that I have no photos, but house pit 9 is behind an embankment. So you can actually see it from the majority of the site. And it adds a level of seclusion for that area. It also lacks any cultural material, which is part of the reason why we believe it's ritual instead of a house. And it has a high percentage of prestige items. So I think, so far my analysis has shown that there is a significant difference in the components of the fish found in Housepit 9 versus Housepit 7, and that potential ritual practices could have been taking place. Thank you.